Hi friends. Today I want to share with you some ideas and thoughts behind health and how to stay healthy. There's so much news on health today, and sometimes it brings a lot of fear into our whole living experience. We hear about the swine flu, we hear about all kinds of new strains of influenza, or we hear about different kinds of illnesses that we had never heard of before. And certainly that brings in a lot of fear, because we think, how are we going to fight this? How are we going to combat this? And I'd like to share some of the maybe ideas and deep concepts that are behind how to maintain health or stay healthy. And a lot of times people say, oh, it's all in your mind, just go ahead and take a deep breath and relax, it's all stress related. And to some degree that can be true, but it's not all that simple, because if it was that simple, everybody would be healthy right now, or nobody would get sick. So we know it's more complicated than that. And I'd like to share some of the thoughts that we have behind that. And here we go, okay? When we have a health challenge, and let's say here you are, this is you, and we have many kinds of health challenges that may come our way. Sometimes, we get colds, or sometimes we might have more serious health conditions, and so I'll just say serious. And that can range anywhere from immune problems or blood problems, or it could be something quite serious as a heart attack, strokes, things of that type. Or we can have simple things like maybe even just fevers. Or we can have something as simple as maybe a headache. So a lot of people suffer from headaches, and you may be one of those too. Now, some of the things that I want to share with you is that we know that health or illness is stress related. In fact, it's a fact that stress is 90% responsible in some way or another to all health problems. Now, that's really interesting, and that's got to be one of the first places that you start. But it's too simple to say, oh yeah, just simply relax. What does that mean? What does relax and you'll be okay mean to you or to anybody, and especially when you still continue to get sick? So when we talk about stress, we're talking about really understanding stress in a very, very more detailed, in-depth manner. When you experience stress, and we have to remember that stress is a reaction that you have. When you have stress, you react to stress. And this reaction to stress is based on all of your past experiences. It may be based on your attitudes, your beliefs, your thoughts, whatever may have happened. Definitely it's going to be based on a lot of your past experiences, because it's what you experienced in your past that led to how you think, believe, and behave, and your attitudes that lead to a reaction that you experience every time you experience stress. Now, this reaction that we're talking about right here varies from person to person. Sometimes something happens in your life, maybe you see someone who you don't really like, and you go, oh man, we can't stand that person, and you start to tense up your body inside, and you squint your eyes, and you get really upset, and you just get an awful state, inside and out. That's a reaction. Other times people will run across their bosses, and they particularly don't care much about their bosses. They don't like them, or they get intimidated by their bosses, or they're afraid by their bosses. It brings fear into their life. Well, they might just get so upset, so stressed out that they end up getting a headache because of that. And they go, oh, my boss gives me a pain in the neck, a pain in the head, or whatever it might be. So we tend to react differently to different situations in our life based on our past experiences, our thoughts, our beliefs, our attitudes. And so these are the very things that cause the reaction. But the one thing you must remember is that your reaction is under your control. People will often say, that's just the way I am. No, that's just the way, I often say, you choose to be. Because you don't have to react to stress. You can instead respond to stress instead of reacting. And when you respond with ability, we call that responsibility. So we want to change our reaction to a response instead. And it's important for us to understand this because when you experience stress, you're going to experience one of two types of stress. You're going to experience a positive type of stress that we call eustress. And this positive stress motivates you, gets you excited, like when you're going to maybe compete or going to have a big event, a birthday party, a wedding, something like that, and you're all excited, but you're stressed inside, but it's a very motivating experience. That's okay. We don't talk about that one so much in this whole picture here because although it can affect you in some negative way if you have prolonged situations like that, typically it doesn't create the same outcome. What we're concerned about is the negative type stress. That kind of stress that paralyzes you, that holds you back, that impedes your performance, your thinking ability, your way of love to relate to others, your work performance. It just takes away from your whole lived experience and chips away from your spirit. It chips away from your health. We say 90% of all stress is 90% of all illnesses is stress related is due to this right here, the negative aspect of stress. And that's the one that we want to manage. Well, what happens? When you experience stress, every single one of you goes to this reaction, and you are going to experience a reaction in your body. So something comes up, and you start to move from comfort to stress, and you begin to feel your heartbeat a little bit faster, your breathing begins to get shallow, your eyes narrow, your stomach might feel a little queasy, your muscles tense. You know what that is. That's a stress reaction we call a fight or flight response. It's a response to perceived danger. And the interesting thing is that that response was meant to keep us alive, to help us to survive as a race. And the interesting part is that we've survived. And although we have survived, we still trigger that response. The fight or flight response that is triggered, when you experience stress causes all of these things inside your body to go crazy. Again, blood cell production is put on hold, inner processes are put on hold, healing is put on hold, your immune system is going to be affected, is going to get weakened. But notice here what we call fight and flight, or fight and flight. When do you ever experience stress where you literally have to fight anybody? You don't do that anymore because we don't fight that way. Most civil people don't fight that way. When you have to run away from danger and fear that you're going to get eaten up by some big animal chasing after you. We don't live in that kind of society or environment any longer. So we don't have to run away from danger any longer in the same way. So through time, in the eons and thousands of years that have passed, this particular response that we call the fight or flight response has evolved through time. And the flight part is fear, and the fight part is anger. So the question here for you to ask yourself is, what am I afraid of and what am I angry of every day of my life that causes me to experience stress? That's the real question. Because you're going to find out that it's something that causes anger and or fear that leads to the stress that causes 90% of all of your health challenges. And at the very core of this anger and fear are core emotions. And those core emotions are going to be rejection, abandonment, helplessness, hopelessness, and a feeling of things being out of your control, no control. So anytime you experience anything like any of these 5 core emotions, you're either going to experience anger and or fear. And anytime you trigger these, you need to remember that what's causing 90% of your stress in your life, that's leading to just about all, or that's leading to just about all of your health challenges, is going to be something that's related to your past. Because any time you trigger any one of these core emotions, the mere word trigger is saying that it belongs to your past. It's not about your present. It's not about you here now today. It's about you way back when. I think about a person who's been in a relationship, for example, and so I'll say a woman with a man, because I'm female, and her partner calls her up and asks her, are you going to be home later on today about 5 o'clock this afternoon or so? And you say, why, yes, I'll be home. Yes, why? And he says, because we have to talk. What are you thinking already? You're thinking, oh my God, uh-oh, he's going to break up with me. He's going to dump me. I know he's going to dump me. And immediately the stress sets in, and you might even go, oh, he's going to dump me. That reaction is not a reaction that belongs to an adult woman in this case. It's a reaction that has to do with a child you that has a lack of resources, that is not capable of handling an adult situation in an appropriate manner. So anytime you find yourself getting angry or pouting or stomping your feet or screaming or hollering or wanting to run away, that's not you, the adult, you. But yet, that, if you don't add mindfulness or consciousness to your lived experience, is going to cause tremendous stress in your life and lead to 90% of all of your health challenges to some degree or another. Because it's going to chip away from your immune system. It's going to cause inner processes to be put on hold. It's going to cause digestion to stop, your brain frequency to go up, your eyes to narrow, blood to go to your body. It's going to cause your heart to beat faster, your breathing to shift. Why? Sometimes people trigger this whole response because they can't find their keys. Because I can't find my keys. Where are my keys? I can't find my keys. Where are they? Oh, where did you put my keys away? Where'd you put them? And they get so upset and riled up because they can't find their keys. Why? What happens if you don't find your keys? Well, then I can't get to work. Or I'm going to be scolded. I'm going to be reprimanded. I'm afraid that I might lose my job. And here comes the fear factor. Some people get so upset because they get to an appointment late. And they did everything they could to get there on time. And yet, they're going to be 5 minutes late, and they get so upset and so nervous and stressed out because they're going to show up 5 minutes late, only to find out that it didn't matter anyway. Everybody else was behind schedule too. And yet, you got yourself all upset. For what? Was it worth it? Was it worth it to put your body through that whole situation because you were afraid of arriving late? No, it's not. You're hurting yourself and your immune system. And your body tells you. Your body tells you the first signs of stress are going to be things like headaches and migraines, but headaches, aggravated ulcers, and also insomnia. Those are the 3 signs of stress beginning to take a toll on your body and your life. So if you get headaches, even migraines, or suffer from aggravated ulcers or have insomnia, you're lucky. You're lucky because it's not all that bad. You need to meditate. You need to use the Silva techniques to overcome or override the stress effect on your body and your immune system and be able to maintain health and not have those headaches and not have those aggravated ulcers or digestive problems and be able to sleep peacefully. If you have challenges like high blood pressure, glaucoma, hypoglycemia, and aches and pains in your body like arthritis, that's a second degree of stress related situations. In other words, you need to put a little bit more time into the process of going within and counteracting the stress effect that's building up in your system and chipping away at your immune system and your body and your living experience. If you have more serious problems like lymphatic problems, blood problems, immune problems, cancer, heart attack, stroke, things like that, you still have hope. You just must put more attention to the process. And that process will help you to regain your health, your strength, to strengthen your immune system, and to be able to manage your health for the rest of your life. Thank you for being here with me, and I hope to speak to you again soon. Keep those stories coming. I'd love to hear from you. Tell me how great you're doing. I always want to hear successes. See you soon.